Fine and Jim Dandy.
So now we started the recording, Eric, and you were already talking.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna Reed and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Donna. I'm with Real Siblings. It Ain't Easy. And I'm Donna Reed in Tucson, Arizona. And I'm here with my brother,
Eric Seemann, and I'm with Keller Williams in San Antonio, Texas.
We are here with our final podcast of 2022. During these podcasts, we have been reminiscing and sharing about our young lives in Lindsey, Ohio, and growing up there, and then how it impacted our real estate careers in San Antonio, Texas, for Eric and myself in Tucson, Arizona. We have enjoyed this year sharing kind of the love and laughter that we had growing up, and also comparing and contrasting our times, our lives, our fun, our not so fun to where we live and work right now. As we're wrapping up this last episode, we're hoping that you have enjoyed the time that you've spent with us and what you've listened and hopefully learned a little bit, and that you will continue as we head into 2023. With that, Eric, I think I'm going to give you the floor. And for those that are watching and or not watching, I guess, either way, tell us about the photo behind you and then what's happening in San Antonio and Southern Texas during this season.
All right. Well, thank you. And okay, so for everybody who's on YouTube, you can see a church setting behind me. For everybody listening on podcast, going to do my best to explain what we're seeing. So in previous episodes, we've talked about our church that we went to growing up. It was Trinity United Methodist Church, and every year it was decorated for the holidays. There used to be an old Christmas card that was created that had a picture of that. Well, behind me is the 2022 version of Trinity United Methodist Church, as I say, all dressed up and decorated for the Christmas season. The altar is adorned with poinsettias. There's a Christmas tree, got a swing.
Yep.
For everybody who's on the video, a Christmas tree that is full of what they refer to as Chrismons, which is a combination of two words, Christ and monograms, and they're typically gold and white. A lot of them were handmade 20, 30 years ago. I remember making some of those all those years ago. The purple and blue altar cloth standing out, and you can see a couple of the stained glass windows in addition to what I'll say is the facade of the pipe organ behind the choir loft, because the actual functional pipes were hidden behind a wall, and those were just the visual impact of. There were way many more notes than the 10 pipes there that you can see. Yeah. But all of it is just, it's what we grew up with, it's where we went to, it's what we expected to see every year. And in our most recent episode where we discussed Christmas with our guest, Rachel Zimmerman Williams, she mentioned the church, so we wanted to put that out there. As we record, today is actually St. Stephen's Day or Boxing Day or December 26th, the day after Christmas, depending on how you want to look at it.
You know what, Eric, I want to interrupt real quick too and just say thank you to a couple of the people in Lindsey who sent that photo to us so that we had it, because we had asked if anybody had the photo. So
okay, so who sent it? You sent it?
Yeah, Kay Eagle sent it to me. Nancy Lipstra posted it this morning too. So.
Okay, all right. So at our Christmas Eve service that I went to at our church, Great Oaks Fellowship, we had finished our carol and candlelight service. It was typical, closed with Silent Night, candles on. We were a combination of real candles and little battery operated candles for the kiddos, as we discussed. And then after service, because it is such a tradition in San Antonio, outside the back end of the church was the food truck, which is Alpha E Omega's Tamals. And we pre-ordered tamales, and you could have hot cocoa with marshmallows that the kids were providing while you waited in line to pick up your tamales. And we pre-ordered a dozen pork, a dozen chicken, and a dozen bean and cheese, which is kind of unusual. But for those of you who may not be familiar, tamales are, I use the word sumptuous, moist delights. They're corn husks. They're filled with a seasoned corn masa that then you put the filling inside. You wrap it all up in the corn husk and then put them in a steamer and season them. They're sold by the dozen. You don't even get...
You can't buy one.
There's a place not far from our house that has a lineup. There was not only a line in front of the building of people who got out of their cars, but there was a lineup a quarter mile down the road with people trying to get through the drive-thru to pick up their tamales. It's
okay.
That much.
So Eric, Caleb is here. He just walked in, so I'm going to let him pop in and say hi. And come on, you can.
He was waiting his turn.
He was waiting his turn.
Ooh, that was mysterious. Your body kind of came and went. That was really
Yeah, it'll happen.
So this is my youngest son, and for those of you that have listened to the podcast, Caleb is the one who recorded the intro. Adam is the one that recorded the song, and then Annabelle, Eric's granddaughter, is the one that did the outro. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, we're calling it the outro is the way I have it. So intro and outro. But we specifically asked Caleb to do that because Caleb is actually a paid professional, not full-time, as an actor in the Denver area and has had several leading roles and done a couple of commercials. It's like, look, let's put some professionalism around this instead of this old bearded man just winging it.
Alleged professionalism.
Although we have to say, for those of you that listened, he was very quick to critique us during the first few. Now I don't know if he even listens to all of them, Eric, but he was quick to say, if you're going to do this, you should do this. And if you, right? Giving us advice. So anyway, we just wanted to introduce Caleb because he's here, and he went rock climbing this morning. So for those of you that are freezing in the Midwest and, have been dealing with snow and 10 below, that is not what it is in Arizona.
It's too hot in Tucson.
Too darn hot, right? What are you guys 70 today? We got up to 62, I think.
Yeah, 70, but exercising in the sun in the desert, it felt like 90. Like it's pretty hot. So
yeah. So I think now he wants to nap, but we asked him to say hi. So
and he has to nap before they go out to sing karaoke tonight.
Yeah, right. Important things. Thanks, Caleb.
Okay, so while I wrap up, and I talked about the tamales there, but you also have to know that this is such a thing that actually San Antonio holds the Guinness World Record for the most tamales ever made in a 12-hour time frame. In 2011, 1,300 people used almost a kilogram. Wow, I don't want to say kilogram. That's not the right thing. 1,000 kilograms.
A kilo?
1,000 kilos of product to make 17,000 tamales in 12 hours. And it's a certified Guinness World Record, and it's been there in place since 2011.
All right. So you've said tamales. We always have said tamales. And now like that E's not being pronounced. What's up with that? When, because what I grew up with and what I still hear, I hear the E being pronounced. Tamales.
It's one of those that it depends on where you're at and how they pronounce it. It's becoming more and more common to just say tamales.
Okay.
In San Antonio.
And
I've been here 30 years and it used to be tamales, but.
Okay. So do the ones that you buy there, do they have an olive in them?
No.
So a lot of the ones Jose brought some to our Christmas party a couple weeks ago, and they all have an olive in it. And I don't know the significance of that because it's like one olive. So it makes me think about king cakes or something. Is there some reason that there's one olive in one? We're going to have to look that up.
I don't know. There's got to be more research because I do not think olives were native to Central America where the tamales originally came from. So that's something that came later. However, I did hear that in a conversation I had yesterday for someone who is in Florida making tamales. Yep. And they're using the more traditional in Central America. They were originally made with bananas leaves, not corn husk. And they were making them with bananas because you can get the leaves down in Florida.
Yeah.
And they were putting the olive in.
Okay. So the tradition of the tamales or tamales, maybe it'll be interesting to see what listeners think about the use of those words. And
that's our Christmas present.
And so beyond that piece, because here we are the day after, that's a food thing, right? And that happens both where you are and where I am. And it starts a week or two before, and people are taking orders the whole month. So we also, the image behind me, for those of you that are watching, are luminarias. And I think that a few people had even used them some at home in Ohio before I left. It was a tradition that had expanded. And the picture that I have behind me is in black and white, and you can kind of see part of a saguaro cactus there. All of these episodes, I did a little bit of research because to me, it was always just Southwest Santa Fe. That's where it came from without knowing the history of it. I've read 2 or 3 places now where they were originally bonfires that had pinion boughs, and they were arranged in like 3 foot high, like big burning fire pits, and that they lit. And some people say in history that they lit the way for Mary and Joseph in their search for lodging in Bethlehem. They're also linked to the ancient tradition of creating and delivering warnings. So when you think, we hear all these things about fires and sending messages by fires, they're linked to that. And then
So that's where J.R.R. Tolkien got the idea in.
Yes. Lord of the Rings.
The fires on the mountains sending the signal across the...
I'm sure that's what it was, yeah. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting, especially with you having a wife from Louisiana, is that some of them there say that the fires and the bonfires were lit along the Mississippi River so that Papa or Père Noël could find his way through the thick fog and everything to bring presents to the kids. So what I here in the Southwest have thought of as just, Pueblo Indians, New Mexico, customs that came from Spain. And in Spain, they called them farolitos, or little lanterns, which makes sense. And they were bags or whatever with sand and real candles. And of course, like everything else, these right now that you see in this picture could very well be a light bulb in a bag that won't burn. It's kind of a fascinating thing to think about light guiding the way, especially as you and I are both churchgoers, and we've just been through Advent and talked about the light of Christ. And, I'm not here to preach to anybody, but, if you think about being in a cave, black, 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 dark, 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 and then you write light, one light. It's kind of cool that these lights have a significance.
Yeah, and when they were being transitioned, we started using them up in Ohio and Michigan in that area. The challenge is that it's like, just take a brown paper bag, put some sand in it, and put a candle in it. Well, you've got snow, you've got slush, you've got moisture, you've got a burning bag and blowing winds and trying to keep a candle lit and everything. I think the climate in the Southwest is much more conducive to Luminaria. I mean, even when I moved here, one of the neighborhoods that I lived in, everybody saved their milk jugs. And you used milk jugs and turned them into luminarias.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting for me, aside from whatever traditions we had related to our families or in the church when we were kids and what happened then, is, life evolves and things change. Decorations change. People here put light bulbs all the way up those saguaro cactuses. I don't even know how they do that. And when we think it's going to freeze, people put Santa Claus hats on the tops of all of the different arms of some of the cactuses.
Of the cactuses, of course, cool.
Yeah, and the good news is the thorns keep the hats from blowing off. So
well, and at some point, I think even Peanuts work that in, because Snoopy's cousin Spike lived in the desert, and they decorate the saguaro cactuses.
You remember the weirdest stuff.
I know. As Jeannie always says, it's like, look at the size of your head. It's got room to store all this worthless information and tidbits.
I need to have you on one of my trivia nights sometime and see how.
So we were out the other day and we ran into a restaurant, and while we were eating, they started trivia. And we had no idea they were going to do a trivia game, and we just were there. Well, it turns out it's Christmas trivia. And let's just say I have an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
I was not playing, but going around to tables and giving everybody their answers. And it's wait, how do you spell that? No.
It's a good way for Santa to be helpful. That's awesome.
And the reason I had to say St. Stephen's Day specifically earlier is because that was one of the questions, and I blew it. I got that one wrong, but that was 1 out of 13 that I missed by the time we had left.
So in San Antonio, what happens like down on the Riverwalk in the middle of town or around the Alamo? Are there specific traditions or things that happen?
There are very definitely. So Alamo Plaza has a Christmas tree that's provided. The main grocery store that actually started in Kerrville, Texas, which is a little bit further north and west from where I currently live, but is headquartered now in San Antonio, Texas, provides the Christmas tree, which is Alamo Plaza gets one similar to like Rockefeller Center does. There is a Christmas tree lighting the day after Thanksgiving. and that's the official start of the season. But the San Antonio Riverwalk, which is one of the main tourist attractions in all of Texas, is lit up. The banks of the river are surrounded, I'll stick with surrounded, with these trees called a bald cypress trees, and they're monsters. They are easily 50, 60 foot tall. And they are draped with twinkling, blinking lights, blinkling lights all up and down the river. And as the city has developed, especially in the last, I'll even say 5 years, there have been extensions to the Riverwalk, which have become more elaborately decorated. And you can take one of the riverboat cruises and just cascade down the river with the lights blinking overhead. There's a big event that's held at the Arnson River Theater, and there's a river parade that goes on. San Antonio at the holidays is really, really, really all in.
So Eric, at the Riverwalk, there's the upper part and then there's the lower part. So are those trees down at the lower part?
The trees are on the lower level directly next to the banks of the river.
That's okay. I've
and as a cypress tree, it's a coniferous tree.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay, I do the emphasis different there. I say conifer. Is it a conifer?
Yeah. I think if you're it's coniferous or conifer if you're doing a single. If the trees don't have a date, they're just single, then it's a conifer. So there's that. There is a holiday river parade, which includes floats and performances and groups from around the city on boats through the city. And this year I got to participate a little bit. One of the San Antonio traditions and draws is a museum saloon restaurant called the Buckhorn Museum. Yep. And on December 11th, Western Winter Wonderland, I got to introduce my version of a cowboy Western Santa and was down there greeting people and patrons and individuals and had a ball. Look forward to growing that in the years ahead, and we'll be looking for a longhorn because we're talking about Santa coming in riding a longhorn. So
for real?
For real.
Well, that's all.
It would be stopping the traffic in the street so that Santa can come down and get off at the Buckhorn, and so we're hopefully developing that, and it's going to be. I'm
already worried about it, and you're just talking about it.
I know, but okay, so you know that I do farm and ranch, and one of the most recent connections that I've made. Not in the longhorn industry, but I am now linked with the Texas Bison Association. Not only am I a real estate agent, but my original degree in school with college was a Bachelor of Science degree in zoology. I am now a volunteer for helping with the bison vaccinations. I'm telling you, I am psyched about getting out and getting hands-on right next to some of those animals.
Oh my Lord. So those of you that are looking for homes that either have longhorns or bison, Eric might be your guy. I don't know.
I can help you out.
Could hook you up with that. Okay. So as you were talking about the Riverwalk, which immediately pops into my head. And then you had that whole German area north of the city.
No, it's actually just south of the city. King William District is south of the city. And that's where the German settlers were originally at. And it's one of the oldest historic districts in the country, officially designated as a historic district. There are houses that open their doors and do tours during the holidays, so you can go in and see how their 19th century Victorian stoneware are all just decorated and highlighted, and it's pretty amazing.
There's a lot to do down there during that, and a lot of diversity.
Incarnate University decorates, and they put up over 1 million lights in their trees around the campus. The San Antonio Botanical Gardens has now started a program where can't even imagine. I mean, we're not getting there this year, but we do plan on putting that on the schedule for next year because archways and drapes and lighted bluebonnet field. They've made lights in the shape of bluebonnets to do a giant lighted bluebonnet field as you go through it. Yeah, it's really something to see. The zoo gets involved. It's all over. SeaWorld, Fiesta, Texas.
Tucson, as you're talking about that, I was thinking about Tucson. So we have an area called Winter Haven, which is different than any other part of town. I know you were here at least once around the holidays, but maybe Thanksgiving. I can't remember if you've been here at Christmas. Winter Haven is a part of town that they have their own wells And when you buy the main avenue, turning in is Christmas Avenue. When you buy a house in Winter Haven, you have to know that you have to decorate for the holidays. There are required. Oh yeah,
it's an HOA requirement.
HOA requirement, and then they block off the street. So Caleb and I came by the other night, and it was Christmas Eve night, I guess. I don't know. And I thought, oh, I wonder if they're still open. Thinking maybe they're not. Tons of people, and you can rent the carts that you pedal through and drink. And there's one day or two where you can take cars, but mostly it's walking. And everybody in there, they are so creative with what they do. But when you buy there, you have to know that this is going to happen. You know, people go through on wagons and stuff. But again, because of our temperature, it can be chilly. You can be cold.
Right. Desert winter in the desert is nighttime, right?
Yeah. So, but bands play. Our piano player from church is one of his band. They're called Desert Chameleon. They always play. So that's a tradition that I've been to a few times. And then the other one is that old Tucson, the movie set / historic area, has started redoing some things. So they had their saloon and their gunfight shows and all that. Now, I don't know how you work Christmas into all of those things, but you know, maybe the dancers in the bar just have red dresses or something. And I'm not sure about Santa in a gunfight and all of that. But they have gotten to where they have reopened.
Well, there's been a couple of recent holiday movies, including this year, Violent Night, which has got a little bit of, or last year's Fat Man.
Yeah, I would like to think that if you're out taking your family out, that's not. Although they have the creepy things, the Halloween things, you know.
That's right. That's right. Okay,
you know,
so I'm gonna transition this a little bit because we need to wind Christmas down. But you have made a standing tradition for New Year.
Yeah, I have. And this is my last year. So I have participated for the last 10 to 15 years. I don't even know how many, in a jazz event out at the Marriott Resort that's on the west side in the Tucson Mountains, Star Pass Resort. And a friend of mine became acquainted with the lead musician. They partnered up. And so it's smooth jazz. And it went from one night, not a big deal, to 2 nights, to then both nights being kind of big. And then there's a golf tournament for the Autism Society. This year, there's a singles meetup. From what I understand, it's supposedly all just supposed to be trivia and stuff about music. It's not a dating thing. So we're going to see what that's like. Anyway, that's on New Year's Eve morning for
so that's a tradition, and we'll be sitting here hibernating at home, maybe watching San Antonio's downtown event. And San Antonio has a huge downtown event. It's just that it's so big. I don't want to fight with the crowds. I don't want to fight with the traffic. I don't want to fight with the drunks, because we're talking easily 50,000 people who will be downtown San Antonio around Hemisphere Park, which is where the 1968 World's Fair was held. The Tower of Americas, the local TV stations broadcast through the Fairmont Hotel, which is another story somewhere down the line. It was picked up en masse and moved from its original location to a hotel, picked up and moved, a brick hotel, pick up and moved. They broadcast from there. San Antonio, for all the diversity in music, typically brings in a classic rock.
Really?
A couple years ago for the big celebration, Pat Benatar, Neil Giraldo, her husband.
So I thought it'd be like mariachis or something, you know.
There are definitely some of that going on. But the Conjunto and Tejano Festival is later in the spring, closer to Fiesta. So we'll talk about that then. And I think we better wrap things up because I
think it's important that we talk about going into 2023 and the fact that this is our last one of the year. And as we go into 2023, we're going to have a guest again, and we're going to talk about projections in real estate for 2023 and our personal goals and what we see happening in the housing market. We have spent October, November, and December a lot on lifestyle and a little bit less on the market. I believe that our intent is in January to get a little bit more emphatic, right? In that arena. At least
there we go. January. Emphatic. Good word, sis.
Is that emphatic, 3 syllables.
Yeah, we do. I mean, our goal on this, again, we're reminiscing, but we want to convey and create relationships. And in real estate, and I know you've heard this, they got to, and it's really true in any kind of sales position, business position, they got to know you, they got to like you, and they got to trust you. And knowing us and liking us are kind of what we're trying to do with this podcast, to get ourselves out there so that people know who we are, feel like this is somebody that have similar emotional connections to, create some sort of tie. It's up to us then, once we have that meeting, to create the trust. So know and like, that's what I think we've been focused on. And now we really want to start demonstrating our expertise as we move into 2023 and season number 2.
Short of just talking about all of our great memories that we may or may not remember the same.
That's right. The ones that we've remember and the ones we've made up.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We'll let you wrap us up, Eric.
All right. So again, as we close out today's episode and our 2022 season number 1, we want to thank everybody for listening as we've strolled down memory lane and reminisced once again about our life in Lindsey, Ohio, and how it's impacted our lives and careers in real estate in San Antonio, Texas, and in Tucson, Arizona. If you are in either of those areas and are looking for a real estate agent, both Donna and myself are available. We work with Keller Williams and are happy to be of assistance. And if you are listening somewhere around the country or around the globe, please remember that we are connected to an extensive network of professionals around the globe. And we would be happy to connect you so that you can find a property to call home and create lasting memories. Until 2023, remember, it may be simple, ain't always easy. And I'm Eric.
And I'm Donna.
And we are Real Siblings. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Thanks, Eric.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah. Oh.
Hi, I'm Annabelle, and I want to thank you for investing your valuable time in listening to Real Sibling. It Ain't Easy. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways you can support this podcast with my Grandpa Eric and Aunt Grandma. Please take the time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show notes Grandpa put together with their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and website. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.